What does the word life mean to you? Is it only an array of harsh choices and consequences? Or is it the creation of a soul that can create an impact on the world? One life can do many great things, but not if it's killed. I'm so sorry. First time. All right. One life can create a huge impact on the world, and, well, abortion ruins that. The creation of a soul that can experience life and create memories with other people is quite an amazing thing, but not if it is killed. Although some life is made through terrible ways, such as rape, a child created from that incident still has the right to life, and they shouldn't be punished. It's not their fault. Excuse me. Also, the life created still has the power to leave a legacy, and if he or she is unwanted by the people who gave birth to it, the child should be brought to a place where it can still be cared for and can live on and experience life. There were roughly 18 to 22 million abortions in the year 2017. Every single digit in that number was a life taken. One life that could have grown and become the next president or the next greatest musician. A life that wasn't given the chance. Just the number 1,000 is a large number. The number 1 million is a large number. But it's risen to 18 million. There are studies that show that abortion can also harm the female human body, doubling the chance of miscarriages and pelvic inflammatory disease. There are also many cases of abortions where females that have went through it, they suffered emotionally, and they did not like the decision they have made. There are also arguments that pro-choice believers make that have to do with the woman's right to their own body. However, they are the ones that counter it, for they're the ones who get pregnant in the first place, unless an occurrence like rape occurs. However, the child did nothing wrong. It still deserves to live. And it can be put up for adoption, as I said before. A child that is created from rape, it still has, gosh. Although some pregnancies are not planned, a life is still a life. And as I said before, rape is an accidental, as I said before, rape is one of the accidental causes, and so is sex before becoming an adult. I still believe that life created from these occurrences still deserves to live. And if someone does not have the funds to take care of a child, or they're not ready, they can always reach out to a family member, a church, or even foster homes. An innocent life should be treated with much care, no matter the circumstances. Another cause of unwanted pregnancies is recreational sex. These are people who want to have sex without a marital commitment. They have sexual relationships with one or more people, and it's sick. When a female participating in these sexual activities gets pregnant, the child may be seen as an inconvenience or a obstacle that can just be swiped easily away. This should not be the case. Not only is it a form of fornication or adultery in some cases, but there is also the killing of more innocent lives. Every person was put on this planet for a reason, and it was not to die an innocent unborn child. To those whom are dealing with these circumstances today, may just discover that a child could be the most happiest things that's ever happened in their life. And I also do understand that the arguments that support abortion, for instance, underage teens, a child can get in the way of their school and social life. However, they still have the right to live. And as I said, they should not be punished by death, for the child hasn't lived a full life to be punished in the first place. I'm not saying that dating is the issue. I'm saying that sex outside of marriage is the issue. It is known that it is against the law to murder someone. the killing of another human being with intent. Abortion is no different, if you think. It's killing another human with intent. And like I said, 18 million is a very, very sad, disappointing number, and these numbers will only increase if we don't do something about it. The human species is smarter than this. And not only is it ethically wrong, it is technically the killing of another human being. Murder. Just think of how everyone who came here today, how they got here. Think of how they gained the chance to be here right now. The miracle of birth. Just think, we have the chance to do the things we get to do today. 18 million, that's just one number that you can't ignore that. Imagine if you wanted an $18 million house, but only with $1 bills. Of course, you all know how much $1 bill is worth. So you start with a buck, which seems worthless. But over time, you begin to collect more. Soon you end up with 1,000, which is a lot more. Then 100,000, then 500,000, then 1 million, and then you reach your goal of 18 million. And you think to yourself that that one worthless dollar bill you started with wasn't worthless to begin with. It led you to that road to gain $18 million to buy what you wanted. Therefore, every single dollar, they work together and create that amount of wealth. And each dollar works together to create a massive amount of $18 million. And imagine that $1 you started with was an unaborted life that left a legacy. It led you to a path that gained you $18 million. And like I said, 18 million, I'm sorry, it's just that number is that's ridiculous. Just 1 million is a huge number. But back to the dollar, along the journey to get at $18 million, it was given a chance. It was given a chance to reach that goal. It left a legacy. And it is the same with a child that is born. It can leave a legacy. A life that was given a chance. A life that was given an opportunity to do amazing things. A life that was a fortune. A human being. Let's save a new generation.
The deliberate termination of human life. It's been practiced for thousands of years, and many infants have lost their lives. But I mean, is it really wrong? Isn't it my body, my choice? But if it's good, right, and ethical, then why do so many mothers feel so guilty about having one? Well, I mean, I've done some extensive research, and it's pretty eye-opening. So the first accounts of abortion were back in 1550 BC in the Egyptian era. Physicians, they would give the mother's leg to eat, or special herbs to terminate the child. Some physicians would even advise the mother to repeatedly jump up and down to induce a miscarriage. But scientists now have brought it down to 2 simple pills. But like, my body, my choice, right? So it shouldn't really matter. But is it really my body? I mean, the child's just a blob, right? What makes us human? Well, I believe it's our soul, but this aside, some have said it's the ventrolateral frontal cortex. It's a spot in your brain where all your cognition and language forms. It's how we communicate with one another. It's not like bees doing a little dance, but verbal communication where we connect with one another on a level no other species can. Children start developing this at 6 weeks. The abortion pill is effective by 10 weeks. But, like, is a flower still a flower, though you plant it in the ground? You can't see it. It's a little seed, say a sunflower seed. You plant it in the ground, it sprouts. What is that? Is it a blob? Or is it a sunflower? I think we could all agree it's still a sunflower, though you can't see the flower yet. What about, say, a mother cat? She has little kittens in her belly. Are they still kittens? You can't see them. I mean, I could tell you they're just blobs, but really, you know they're still kittens. What about autistic or mentally challenged people? Their language, they can't relate to one another. They can't relate to us. Are they still human? Is it right to kill them? And then, is the unborn child in your stomach, is it still human? But we terminate them. I mean, is it right to murder? I mean, I think everyone could agree in here that no, it's not right to go up and kill somebody. What's the basis for our morals? I personally believe this is the Bible. The Bible should be the basis for everyone's. But there's so many people out there who don't believe this. But everyone has a conscience. Everyone knows this is right, this is wrong. Killing somebody is wrong. Everybody knows this. And killing is the termination of human life. Well, abortion is the termination of an unborn child. So abortion is murder. And there are also many physical side effects to having abortions, such as excessive bleeding and cramping, but the mental and emotional side effects are far worse than many doctors say they are. Some say they'll last, a few weeks. It's just hormonal, but these effects can be anger, shame, loneliness, loss of self-confidence, insomnia, relationship issues due to lack of trust. They can also lead to eating disorders, anxiety, and the major one, guilt. I read several anonymous reports of mothers who regret having their abortions. One mother, in particular, stated that she started abusing drugs after having her abortion. She spent over $80,000 on heroin. And she goes on to say in the article that she 100% believes she would not have turned to heroin if she had given birth to this child. And before this, she was pro-choice. She believed it's just a blog, but she knew it wasn't in her heart. And the site I was reading it on, it's just a bunch of mothers who say, I strongly advise against this. Most of them were pro-choice to begin with, but after they've done it, they regret it. And then another research report I read, it said the majority of mothers don't regret their abortions. About 95% do not regret it. And then I went on to read the fine print. They took 667 out of the 956 it started off with. Over the course of 3 years, they had 3 survey phone calls. And that's 667 out of, 926,200? This a few years ago, the number around the time the survey was taken. That was just a year, and it's 667 over 3 years. They also received a $50 gift card after every survey, which creates bias and can alter a survey. But, if abortion was right, then why did these mothers regret it? Do you regret something that you know is right? I mean, yes, some decisions are very difficult, and they're hard to make. They can have a few consequences, but if you know it's right, then you don't regret it. But why do they regret these? Now, I do not want to shame mothers who have had abortions. I think we should put up help for them. We should forgive them because that's what Christians are supposed to do. And I just want to prevent further innocent lives from being lost. This will be difficult to achieve, but it will be possible with God. If we make known the truth of abortion, what it really is, and if we make known that the child is human, I believe that we can save many lives and prevent many mothers from going through these traumatic experiences. We can start this by electing pro-life officials and urging our friends and neighbors to do so also. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Where are we now? I believe that we've pretty well proven that abortion is wrong and that it has some really bad side effects. So I would like to share with you how I believe that we can begin to stop or at least slow down the rate of abortion. So to start, I'm going to start with an analogy. Let's say that you were driving through a foreign country, and in this country, all the natives drove on the left side of the road. Unlike all the countries surrounding them, which drove on the right side of the road. In this country, they didn't have any road signs or anything stating which side of the road they drove on. So, as you're going through this country, you round a sharp turn, and smash, you hit an oncoming car. Now, whose fault is it? Was it your fault for driving on the wrong side of the road? After all, you didn't do enough research. Or is it the native's fault for not having road signs put up, for not giving you proper information and telling you the effects of driving on the wrong side of the road? Well, I believe it's ultimately the native's fault, because it's their responsibility for showing you, giving you the information about their roads. So, how does this apply to abortion? Well, in this analogy, let's replace you with the young woman, the foreign country, with an abortion center, the left or right side of the road with whether or not she will get abortion, and the native with a doctor. Most of these young women who are unaware of what exactly they're getting into, they're given false information, and to add to all of this, they're under a lot of emotional stress, so their judgment isn't at its best. They're ill prepared for what they're getting into, just like you were in this story. These women are not told the truth about getting an abortion. They're unaware of the side effects. They're unaware of the side effects. They are told that what's inside them is it's not human, but just a blob. They are not informed of the mental and emotional side effects like depression and in a lot of cases life-lasting remorse. Now, how do we put up signs? How do we warn people of the side effects of an abortion? How can we make a difference? I believe that if we can make laws to force the abortion centers to tell the truth and list all of the side effects of having an abortion, it will greatly reduce the rate of abortion and help these young women to make the right choice. Now, how do we change the law? Well, we can first start by encouraging our friends and neighbors to tell them to vote pro-life, and we need to get more Senate and Congress members who vote pro-life. And the ones that we elect, we need to hold them accountable. We need to make sure that they take initiative, and if they don't, we need to replace them with someone who will. One argument that we can bring up that will help make this a law is if other doctors who do other kinds of surgeries have to tell their patients all of the side effects and all the results of their surgery and what exactly they were removing or altering, then the doctors who do these abortions need to do the same. They should have to explain all the emotional and physical side effects that abortion causes, and that what they're removing has a heartbeat. If we cannot get this, and if we can get it done, we should also have them do an ultrasound to show them what exactly they're removing and what it looks like. But in the end, the only way we can truly stop abortion in this country is to bring it back to God. And it's not going to happen unless we can make a stand in our churches and in our communities. It will not be easy to make a stand. So one question that I thought of that we need to ask ourselves is, what's more important? What people think of us or these babies' lives? It's up to you and me to make a difference. And one last thing before I finish is, for those who've had abortions, there's still forgiveness. We still need to help these young women get through it and forgive them. After all, Jesus did. And a lot of these women who have had abortions have great remorse and feel terrible. So when you talk to the people who have had it done, try to comfort them and help them, tell them that there's still hope. And the end.
I will be speaking on abortion and why it is wrong. There will be quotes from some of our presidents on what they believed or believed concerning abortion and what the Bible has to say concerning abortion. And also some helpful information on the amount of abortions and the reasons given for having them. First of all, abortion, in the words of PlannedParenthood.org, is, quote, a safe and legal way to end a pregnancy, end of quote. MedicalDictionary.thefreedictionary.com states it this way, quote, termination of pregnancy before the fetus is viable, end of quote. In other words, abortion is when an unborn child in the mother's womb is slaughtered before he or she is able to live, just because the mother does not want the child. As a Christian, I find in God's word, the Bible, the words, quote, thou shalt not kill, end of quote. Now this applies to grown adults or babies, born or unborn. Now I use the term babies because I believe the term, quote unquote, fetus is a terrible term. A baby is a baby, not anything else. So there is no need to call the baby anything other than a baby or, quote unquote, the unborn child. The reason I say this is because I've heard several people say that, and also because it makes sense. Studies show that, quote, a baby's heart starts beating 18 days after conception, end of quote. So a baby is not a blob, a fetus, or any other term. Once a woman becomes pregnant, she has a baby living inside of her, no matter how old it may be. Also, as a Christian, I find that it is God's job to give life and to take away life. Job 112b puts it this way, quote, the Lord gave and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord, end of quote. So God gives and takes away life. So when a doctor or parent aborts the baby, they are doing God's job, which is wrong. Now, not only as a Christian do I find abortion wrong, but also as a fellow human being. The Declaration of Independence states, quote, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, end of quote. It clearly states that life is an unalienable right, which means it is something that, quote, cannot be taken away or denied, end of quote, as defined by vocabulary.com. Now imagine if you or I or any of us here had been aborted. Plainly speaking, we would not be here. So we should all thank God that He has allowed us to be born, because if not, we would not be able to exercise our right of, quote, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, end of quote. And it is the same for, according to nationalrightolife.org, the, quote, 60,069,971 babies, end of quote, that have been aborted. And as if this information were not enough, think about this. These babies that have been aborted would now be in their 20s, 30s, and even 40s. And if they had lived, they would have had even more kids, and the United States population would be not even greater. Now, we cannot change the past, but we can change the future. And that is why we need to stop abortion 100%. If we don't, then it will only get worse and worse. The abortion numbers are too high, and behind every abortion is a real person with a real life that has been killed. Unmercifully, unconstitutionally, but most importantly, ungodly and unbiblically. And if we continue killing babies at the present rate, there will be no next generations, because our country will abort most, if not all, the babies. Now, some might say and have said that abortion is a choice, and that if not, we are taking away the woman's right of choice. I disagree, and so did former President Ronald Reagan when he said, quote, to those who say this violates a woman's right to control her own body, can they deny that now medical evidence confirms the unborn child is a living human being entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Let us unite as a nation and protect the unborn with legislation that would stop federal funding for abortion. And with the Human Life Amendment, making, of course, an exception where the unborn child threatens the life of the mother, end of quote, from ontheissues.org. I agree with everything former President Reagan said, except where he said, quote, making, of course, an exception where the unborn child threatens the life of the mother, end of quote. I believe the baby should not be killed for any reason whatsoever. The mother should have the baby, even if it threatens her life. She should trust God with her baby's life and her life, and not abort her baby. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 says, quote, trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths, end of quote. So don't follow the doctors when their quote-unquote understanding says for you to abort your baby. Trust God with both you and your baby's life. God loves that baby just as much as he loves you, and so should you. Your baby needs you. Now, not only does abortion hurt the baby, it also hurts the woman, both physically and emotionally. I have personally heard stories where a mother had nightmares about her baby for years after it was killed. When the abortion doctor comes in, he or she scrapes the baby out of the mother's womb, sometimes even striking the brain before scraping the rest of the baby out. Now, what good mother who is a good mother would kill her baby? Yet that is exactly what she is doing when she has an abortion. Well, you might say the woman was raped or a woman became pregnant. Actually, no, that's not the case. According to nationalrightolife.org, quote, only 93% of women cite social reasons as their motivation, end quote. That means that only 7%, if that, of women cite rape or other things as the reason for their abortion. So abortion is the adult's fault, not the baby's. The baby should not have to suffer because of a parent's bad decision. Abortion is not the answer. Now, what about babies with disabilities or deformities? I say, trust God with your baby. Don't have that abortion. Your baby and you are precious to God, and He loves you and your baby. And whether your baby is missing limbs or has special needs or is just misshapen, does not matter. And this does not give any excuse whatsoever for a baby to be killed. God loves all of us, and so we should love one another with the love Jesus has given to us. The life of a baby is precious. In conception, a baby is precious. So no matter what you think about your baby, God says it's precious. Your baby is precious, important, and loved by God. And according to Psalm 127:3, which says, quote, lo, children are an heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is His reward, end quote. Children are very important to God. When people abort babies, they are aborting the next generation, their baby, and possibly someone who could have become a Christian. From among these millions of babies, we could have had preachers like George Whitefield or Jonathan Edwards, presidents like George Washington or Abraham Lincoln. We could even had, as Richard Clark says, quote, someone who found the cure to cancer, end quote. I tell you, I am very thankful that our President Donald Trump stated, quote, and I am very, very proud to say that I am pro-life, end quote, from OnTheIssues.org. This brings me to my last point. No matter what gender your baby is, love it, even if he or she is not the gender that you wanted. Don't treat or love one baby different than another. They are all special too and loved by God. In conclusion, if anyone commits abortion, they can be forgiven, but abortion is not the answer for anyone. Adoption is if the baby is quote-unquote not wanted. There are plenty of couples who want babies but can't have them. So if you don't want your baby, then put it up for adoption, so that he or she can have a wonderful life for the family. Don't abort your baby. Have your baby so there will be many more generations to come. And who knows but God what wonderful things they will be able to do. Thank you.
From our judges goes to Jared Horst. And he has included with his coupons $25 in cash from an anonymous giver. Okay? And then second place goes to Brent Butelli. Thank you. And he wins $50 thanks to Riders Realty. So they donated the prizes for that, and we're thankful for them. So in our first place goes to Andrea. She has $100 from Riders Realty, which they donated, and the opportunity to go to Nashville to the state competition. So we would look forward to supporting you in that. Thank you so much, and thank you again to all these kids